Have you ever wondered if your childhood stash of Nintendo games could be a hidden treasure? Well, today, we're uncovering the surprising value of 25 classic NES titles, from Saturday morning shovelware to dismembered zombie heads blowing up skyscrapers. Find out which titles are now worth a small fortune. What's up, everybody? I'm Technohead, and welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited because today we're going to be starting a new series of videos taking a look at the values of classic video games and how they've changed over the past 20 years. For those of you coming back to my channel, you might be familiar with a series of videos I did where I took a look at how the values of classic video games, starting with the Atari 2600 and going all throughout the 80s up to the Atari 7800, had changed from 2002 to 2022. In that video series, I used the price guide that had been included in the back of one of my books called Collecting Classic Video Games. Unfortunately, that book ended with the Atari 7800, which meant that I didn't have any more pricing to go off of, and so I had to find a new source. And so I decided to use the price guides that are available using the Wayback Machine on GameDude.com's website. For those of you that don't know, GameDude is a great store in the Los Angeles area. It's been open for probably 3 decades now. It's been open as long as I've lived in LA, and it's really just a fantastic place to go and see lots of video games from all eras. It's a great place to fill holes in your collection and just see stuff that you've never thought you would ever see, like Japanese import arcade sticks and things like that. GameDude has been posting these price guides on their website since the early 2000s. So I decided that we could take a look at prices from early 2004 and compare them to the prices on their website today in 2024. So here's how it's going to work. We're going to take the prices listed on GameDude's website in 2004 and adjust them for inflation. Then we'll compare that price to the price as listed today in 2024. And in the end, we'll find out which games have had the largest increase in value over the past 20 years. So let's start this show with a showstopper, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Arguably the biggest, greatest system of all time, certainly for somebody my age, the system that had the biggest impact on me becoming a retro gamer. Now, I'm more of a Sega guy, so I think long-term, the Nintendo Entertainment System, while it was a system that I had and loved, is probably not what I would call my favorite system. But I think for a lot of people, when you think of retro games and 8-bit systems, you obviously think of the Nintendo Entertainment System. So that's where we're going to start this series. So join me today while we count down the top 25 most valuable Nintendo Entertainment System games. If you walked into GameDude back in 2004, you could have picked up a game for $25 that today is worth thousands of dollars. That's no joke. Don't believe me? Let's check out the list. Starting off the list is Mighty Final Fight. Mighty Final Fight is a chibi side-scrolling beat-em-up version of the famous arcade game by Capcom, Final Fight. And back in 2004, this game was going for $25 at GameDude. But today, if you wanted to pick up a copy of Final Fight, Mighty Final Fight at GameDude, you would have to spend $299. That's followed by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in their fighting game on the NES, Tournament Fighters. This is one of the later TMNT games that came out on NES. And in 2004, this was a $23 game. But in 2024, this was going for $279, which is a 1,113% increase in value. This game has a rarity of 89 on the rarityguide.com. That's followed at number 23 by Zen Intergalactic Ninja. I think this game is based on a comic book or something based on the character designs and stuff, but this is a relatively rare game at a 62 that would have cost you $12 back in 2004. And today in 2024, it's going for $149 at GameDude, which is a 1,041% increase in value. Now we have some real crap. This is Secret Scout in the Temple of Demise. This is a Color Dreams game, the infamous people behind the 52 action cart. This was going for $23 in 2004. And today in 2024, this goes for about $299. That's an increase in value of 1,200%. This is an extremely rare but very crappy game at 93 on the rarityguide.com. Then we've got DuckTales 2, the sequel to, in my opinion, the superior game DuckTales 1 from Capcom. This is a later release on the NES. This was going for $23 in 2004. But in 2024, this has gone up quite a bit to $299. So like the previous game, this is a 1,200% increase in value for DuckTales 2. Not too bad for Uncle Scrooge. Then we have an extremely rare game. This is a game that is a 6-in-1 cart, meaning it had 6 games in one. This is Caltron 6-in-1. The 2004 price for this game was $23. And today, if you wanted to pick up a copy of Game Dude, you'd have to spend $299 for this collection of not very good games, Caltron 6-in-1, a very rare cart for the NES. Then we got a super fun game from Atlas. This is Rockin Katz at number 19. Rockin Katz is about a bunch of cartoon cats in like the 1930s. It's sort of era, and they're running around and having capers. This game was going for $15 in 2004, and today if you wanted to pick up a copy of Rockin Katz at Game Dude, you'd have to spend $199. That's a 1,227% increase in value over the last 20 years. That's followed up by one of the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons games for the NES. This is Hillsfar. And when I was playing this, I really couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be doing. I assumed it was a dungeon crawler, but it had a lot of horseback riding. The original price was $15 in 2004, but in 2024, it was going for $199, which means it had an increase in value of 1,227%. That's followed up by the weird sort of Bubble Bobble clone Snow Bros, which came out in 1991. This is a fun game. It's basically Bubble Bobble, so if you like that, it's a snow version of that. It was $25 back in 2004, but today, if you wanted to pick up a copy of Snow Bros, you'd have to spend $349. That's 1,296% increase in value for a very rare game at 92. That's followed by Bucky O'Hare, the delightful rabbit-based sci-fi game. This game was going for only $12 back in 2004, which is not too bad considering this is a rarity of 51. But if you wanted to pick up a copy today, you'd have to spend $179, which is a 1,392% increase in value for the number 16 game Bucky O'Hare. That's followed by not the last Hanna-Barbera game here. This is Jetson's Cogswell's Caper at number 15. This very terrible Jetson side-scrolling game is $20. This is definitely one that only collectors would want, but they would have to spend $299 today to pick up a copy. That's a 1,395% increase in value. Game's a 73 on Rarity Guide. Then we've got another Disney game. This is Chippendale Rescue Rangers 2 for the NES, a sequel to the Chippendales game. This game was going for $23 back in 2004, a good price for a very rare game at a 78. But today, if you wanted to pick up a copy, you'd have to spend $349, which is a 1,417% increase in value over the last 20 years for Chippendales Rescue Rangers 2. That's followed up by Conquest of the Crystal Palace for the NES. This is an ASMAC game. Not as rare as some of the other games on the list, but it's included because it was going for only $3 back in 2004 if you went into Game Dude. And today it's also not that expensive. It's only $49, but that still is a pretty significant increase in value. It's gone up nearly 1,533% in the last 20 years. Then we've got Hanna-Barbera presents Wacky Races. This inscrutable game is based on the cartoon Wacky Races, It cost $23 back in 2004 for a copy, and today if you wanted to pick yourself up a copy of Wacky Races from Game Dude, you'd have to spend $399. Please do not do that. It's a 1,634% increase in value for this rare game. It's an 86 on a rarity guide. Then we've got a shooter game called Gun Knack. I had never heard of this game until I did this list. So this is a game that's got some kind of fun shooting of food. It's kind of a whimsical game. $23 back in 2004. But today this game is going for about $399. It's a rarity of 77, and it's a fun little shooter. I had a hard time finding footage for this because I didn't have a working copy, so I pulled this off a World of Longplays, so thank you to them for the footage here. This is Dragon Fighter, has a 2004 price of $23, and it's a rarity guide listing of 63. Today, if you wanted a copy of Dragon Fighter to record your own version, you'd have to spend $449. That's an increase of 1,852% for Dragon Fighter. That's followed up by another sword and sorcery game. This is Sword Master at number 9. It's got a pretty sweet intro screen with some fire here. And the gameplay was actually kind of fun, reminding me of like Trojan or something like that. This game was going for $20 back in 2004. And today, if you wanted a copy of Sword Master, you'd have to put out a little bit more. $399 for Sword Master, which is 1,895% increase in value. Then we've got a pretty early game for the NES. This is Sqoon, which looks a little bit like Sky Kid or something like that, but it's a submarine-based game. This was only going for $7 back in 2004, and the rarity is pretty rare at an 86. So today, if you wanted to pick up a copy of Sqoon, you'd have to spend $149, which is a 2,029% increase in value for this cart. Then you've got, it's kind of a surprising one. This is Bonk's Adventure, which obviously is a famous game on the TurboGrafx 16, but this is the NES version, which is very rare. It's an 89. This was going for $32 back in 2004, so even back then it was more expensive than some of the other ones. But today, if you wanted a copy, you'd have to shell out $749, which is a 2,240% increase in value over the last 20 years. Then at number 6, we've got the inscrutable Zombie Nation, which is a dismembered zombie head blowing up skyscrapers. It's a very crazy game and has a fun cover there. This is going for $23 back in 2004, and today, if you wanted a copy of Zombie Nation, you'd have to spend $699. So that's a 2,939% increase in value over the last 20 years. That's followed up by Power Blade 2, the sequel to the also rare Power Blade 1. This one has an 81 rarity on Rarity Guide and a fun intro. This game was going for $20 back in 2004, but today in 2024, that price has gone up pretty significantly to $899. That's a 4,395% increase in value. Amazing. Then we've got Kid Klown, which to me seems like a horror game, but I don't think that's what they were actually going for. Kid Klown is a game about a clown who's kind of running around and stopping baddies in his clown world. This is a relatively rare game, and it's 71. If you'd picked up this game in 2004, you would have spent $12. And if you wanted to get a copy of it today, you'd have to spend $599. That's a 4,891% increase in value for Kid Klown. Then we've got Panic Restaurant, which is kind of a fun game. Reminds me of maybe like a cozy game or like a side-scrolling version of Burger Time or something. Panic Restaurant was going for $15 back in 2004. And this fun little game would now cost you $899. That's a 5,893% increase in value for this rare game, Panic Restaurant. Now, these last two games didn't have a price officially listed on GameDude, so I just kind of went by what the value was on price charting because you would have to ask them at the counter what it is because it's kind of a market value. But back in the day, this extremely rare game, Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak, was going for $25. And today, if you wanted a copy, according to PriceCharting.com, a complete in-box copy is going to go for $3,113. That's a 12,000% increase. And that brings us to our final game. It's not going to be a huge surprise to people that collect NES games, and that is Little Samson. Now, amazingly, in 2004, you could have gone in and picked up a copy of one of the rarest NES games of all time for $23. And that would have been a really good deal, because if you picked up that game for $23, you would now have a game worth $4,448 according to PriceCharting.com. That's a 19,239% increase in value. Amazing. Wow. And there it was, the top 25 most valuable Nintendo Entertainment System games. Was there anything in there that surprised you? Do you have any of those in your own collection? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear if you have anything in your collection that was on this list. What an amazing find that would be. So, we're going to continue on with several more videos in this series over the coming weeks. The next video is going to be on the Nintendo Game Boy, another huge system with lots of great games. Will we see any surprising games on that list? You'll have to tune in to find out. Make sure to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss it. And while you're smashing buttons, you might as well smash the like button too, because that helps out the channel, and I really do appreciate it. Thanks again for swinging by my channel and checking out this episode. We'll see you next time. Until then, I'm TechnoHead, signing off.
We have guidance in channel.